Welcome back to the channel, everybody. I am Mick Alphanine. So I'm going to be putting out a very potent members only video today. Click that join button. You're going to want to watch this one. I think I'm onto something, and this is a very potent video. Okay, so join button, and I will see you in the members only section. Now, let's begin here with Reuters. Reuters is, everyone has been posting these articles this morning about Ripple possibly being interested in acquiring the assets of Celsius. I'm going to ask you, how much in assets does Celsius have in total value? You know, I had to look it up, but you know, I'm seeing conflicting numbers, but the average number I'm seeing is around $340 million in assets. That's significant. Now, keep in mind, Ripple will buy that for a very fair price, much lower than where they're going to be selling it. When they sell it, they will make a hefty profit. So now they're taking all this profit. Let's pair that with the fact that Ripple has been liquidating a massive amount of XRP, but for what purpose? See, we get caught up in the numbers, 347 million the other day. That was a beautiful number, by the way. We want that to happen because what they're doing is, and let's circle back around, we have to look at where they're putting the value. They're moving that value to on-demand liquidity corridors. Now, we covered an article recently that was on ripple.com. It's coming directly from them. And they said their primary goal right now in liquidating anything or moving value around is to prime the on-demand liquidity corridors and setting up infrastructure. Now, let's look at the body of this year. Yes, Ripple has moved a good amount throughout the year, but right now, the last 2 months, they have moved so much value, it's mind-blowing. Not only that, now they're looking to acquire assets, almost towards $500 million in assets that they're going to sell, probably going to double or triple their return on investment, in my humble opinion. At the least, they're going to double what they're going to pay for this, if they actually do. And in the last 2 to 3 months, we've seen more money moving, not money, but value moving to corridors than ever before. Why? Causality, everyone. Causality. Do you remember that part in the Matrix where the Merovingians sat down? He was sitting at the table, and then Neo and Morpheus walk in, and they're asking him a question. He says, "You come to me without the why." You have to have the why. Why is this happening? There is something major going on in the background. We have to keep our eyes open for information, eyes open for information that might be coming out, and they'll put it out. They will not tweet it. It will not be on major websites. Some of the best information is found by manual searches. So we're going to keep our eyes open. Something major is happening right now. And this is why Ripple is making such a big push. Not only that, I'll say this. I'm trying not to give too much away. That members only video, you want to watch that members only video. Not only that, we had, I believe it was Mr. Alderati, lawyer in the Ripple case, said in the last 2 days that the case might be over by next year, March. Now, we also know that the judge put things into effect earlier this year, for the case to be, to try to force the case to be over by the end of this year. So now we have a timeline. We have a space where case could be over by the end of this year, or case could be, or at the max of this is what they're saying. It could change. It definitely changes from time to time. Next year, March. So given that information, if you were Ripple and you knew this case could possibly be over very, very soon, wouldn't you also make a huge push on some of those projects? Now, I'm trying to, there's something I want to say so badly, but I don't want to give it away. How can I put these things? There, I'll say this. You remember Brad Garlinghouse himself said that the institutions were ready to flip the switch, correct? All right, you have that. They're ready to flip the switch. Then on top of that, you have David Schwartz, who multiple times has said XRP cannot be dirt cheap. That's two. That's two, right? All right. Now, you also have the statements that Ripple has made over the years that they are interested in moving all the money or acting as an agnostic bridge currency or world reserve currency, correct? You have that. Then you have the BRICS nations, right? The BRICS nations are becoming so powerful. There is absolutely no way. There's absolutely no way that I don't see that after much, political squabbling and, and bickering between the nations, that they won't come to some sort of agreement with NATO or the West. The BRICS nations are becoming so powerful, right? Because of Russia, because of China, and their world reserve currency that they're working on, that would be highly devastating to the US dollar and the euro as well. I just don't see how they don't reach a stalemate at some point. It would be unwise for the West to continue down this path that it's currently on, and just be completely crushed and defeated. I would think that there would be a stalemate reached. There would have to be meetings. There would have to be agreements. This has happened before. Look at what happened before with United States and the West in the USSR. Now, I'm not an expert on all the details, but you see that at some point for a bevy of years, United States, Russia, China, they had better dealings with each other than now, correct? After a very tumultuous and chaotic time. I see that happen again. Now, in order for that agreement to take place, they're not going to say, hey, we're going back to the dollar standard. Absolutely not. So then what has to come in? A one world reserve currency or a bridge currency. Let's not even say world reserve currency, but a neutral or agnostic bridge currency. Like what? XRP. Something like XRP could be utilized. It's neutral. And it could be valued based upon a basket of currencies. And yes, I think the BRICS nations would bring their gold and their minerals, because I think they're trying to look into pegging their reserve currency to specialize minerals now. That's what I'm hearing as of late. Not necessarily gold. They want something that's completely unique to them. But we'll see how that plays out. But they can bring their fair value to the table based on those minerals, okay? And a currency that's backed by those minerals. And so then, as a basket of currencies that are fairly evaluated now, as opposed to just the West being able to evaluate what's worth a high value and what's not, even with a unbacked fiat currency. But instead of something like that, now you have a fair basket of currencies and have those evaluated, and that value can run through something like XRP, or like I said, MBDC, like XRP, XLM, Algorand, Hedera, the new financial system. The new financial system would theoretically be a worldwide system for a one world order. The only way that they're going to make this work, this global initiative, and that's another thing that makes me say that that's possible. Because the World Economic Forum has ties to all of these countries, even though these countries are going against each other, but the World Economic Forum has politicians in Canada, high-ranking politicians in the United States, high-ranking politicians in Russia, high-ranking politicians in China, and they're vocal about it. Because of that, I just don't see the World Economic Forum being able to exact its agenda without them all eventually coming to the table and negotiating. Now, who knows how long that will take? I can't say, but I do see that happening, and I believe that the strife is being allowed to happen right now, so that the people will suffer enough in order to accept the new system. So they'll come to you and they'll come to the people of the world and say, listen, we would like to end all of this suffering. But in order to do that, we have to have a one world system. That way, everybody across the board can fairly exist or, have access to capital and instruments and financial instruments fairly, right? Leveling the playing field. Remember that? How everybody was saying that? Level the playing field. The news anchors were saying it. Stellar was saying it. Ripple was saying it. Presidents were saying level the playing field. Why? This terminology didn't just spread out on its own. No. Someone was briefing them. And who knows who that organization is, but I'll say the World Economic Forum has not been quiet. It's been very vocal about its what it longs to do. So I think after a bit of suffering, all of these nations will come to the table and they have to negotiate. They don't want mutually assured destruction. Now, circling back around, this benefits the new financial system. Most of these bank coins act as agnostic bridge currencies. That's number one. So they're going to gain just based off of that alone. Number two, a lot of big money is going to want to hold them because they know that those prices are going to skyrocket. That's number two. Number three, transaction fees. Most of these native tokens have to be used. If anyone issues an asset on those blockchains. That's going to be a whole lot of volume and value flowing across those blockchains. They benefit and those prices will skyrocket off of that as well. Some of these currencies, when there's a high amount of traffic on those blockchains, you have surge pricing that makes that price go even higher. You have to take all of these things into account. So, I mean, we'll keep an eye on these particular things. I had so many other articles and things to speak on, but I believe that right now there's a lot being tested. There's a lot of discussion behind the scenes with world powers, in my humble opinion. I mean, you've already seen a few. Once more, I'll close out with Ripple advises the IMF. There's a member on the IMF's, it's titled something like the High Level Advisory Board. You can look it up for yourself, okay? So, the future is very bright when it comes to the bank coins. XRP, ton of banks. XLM has a good amount of banks. Whether these things are used or not, we will see. There's no guarantees in anything. It's not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. Algorand, has a good amount of banks. I won't say a ton of banks, has a good amount of banks. CBDCs. Hedera has a few banks. So, it's all coming together. It's not just a new financial system. It's a completely new order of the world that's going to be coming into place. But first, I believe they have to break down the old system, expose its flaws, convince the people that there is something new needed, or else most of the people will reject the system. They have to put this in front of the people long enough. They have to put the pressure on the people long enough. Like a man in the desert, starving not starving, sorry about that, but dehydrated and thirsty. You could give him a thimble of water. Let him crawl just enough to where that thimble of water, no matter how filthy it is, it tastes like the best water on the planet. It is the most amazing drink he has ever had in his life. That's what's going on right now. Just look at how everyone's celebrated because of the CPI data. CPI data, sure, it showed. I'm just going to say that. It showed that there was a decline. But at the same time, everything is still insanely high. But because it is so insanely high that the people were given a thimble of water and they're celebrating. Markets go green. Might even have a little bit of a rally at some point soon. Think about that. That's just a nice little example. The people have been paying high prices for so long that even a little bit of positive CPI data made everyone celebrate. Thimble of water, everyone. And so I see that happening on a much grander scale in the world right now. And we will see how this plays out in the future. But it looks like bank coins will benefit greatly. And the world as you know it, if everything continues to go the way that it is, the world as you know it in a few years' time will be completely different than what you know now. Because this is what the powers want. And with that comes the new financial system. So now that you have that information, what are you going to do with it? I know what I'm going to do with it. So until next time, let's get to the money.